Welcome to the Make Time for Play podcast. Thanks for joining us on our journey to make time for play through board games. I'm David Castillo, and I'm here with Neal Hooper. And today we're going to tackle the topic, if you haven't played a game in a year, it's time to get rid of it. Disagree? Agree? What do you think? Neal, let's kick it to the intro. All right, Neal, before we deliver our hot takes, how did you make time for play?
Well, it was a great little stretch of gaming for us. I say us. I'll start with, for me, because I was playing my first solo game, Hercules and the 12 Laborers, which was designed by Tyler Brown with art by David Schneider and some graphic design by Ammon Anderson, who's a friend of ours. It was very interesting. I've always viewed gaming as a social activity. And so to play a solo-only board game for the first time, it was kind of a existential experience. I was challenging everything that I believed about board games. But it's a dice rolling game. There's a lot of chance in there, but there's definitely some, dice mitigation as well. Very fun theme. You're going through the 12 labors as Hercules, trying to overcome the battles and the challenges that he faced. It's very based in the Greek mythology, which is fun. So you're kind of just going through the deck, and there's fun little description cards, and then the boss cards, and then you get some weapons and upgrades. It's really fun, and I've played it 3 times. I've not beat it yet. It's very hard. I'm playing on easy mode, and I got to the 11th labor the first time, and I almost beat it, but then just barely. So anyway, I'm excited to keep playing it. So I got to get a few more plays in. But anyway, that's Hercules and the 12 Labors. Also played Flip 7 with a Vengeance, which is the new version of the smash hit Flip 7. It's the same game, and love, if you like press your luck games from Eric Olson, but it's just a lot meaner. So if you go into it expecting that, it's a good time. There's now 13 cards. So there's 13 13s in there. So that spices it up a little bit. And then basically instead of second chance cards, you just get a lot of minus point cards. There's one card that halves your overall score. You can take cards from people. You can trade cards with people. There's a lot more take that, which again, some people aren't into that. But if you go into expecting that, it's a lot of fun. So we enjoyed Flip 7 with a Vengeance.
All right. Yeah, you answered my question, which is what is the difference? But yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's a lot meaner. And then finally, I just want to round out with Block Party from Big Potato Games. Thank you for helping us land that. It's just a really fun game. You get prompts for nouns, and then you get little multicolored cubes from a central pile that you're drafting from to try to convey an image. And then one person's a guesser, and they go around and they guess the images, or they try to guess what you were trying to portray with your cubes. And if you get it correct, you both get a point. If you get it incorrect, the guesser gets it wrong, somebody else can try to steal the point and guess, which is kind of fun to mitigate when there's wrong guesses. But very fun. Played it a few times. It's a hit with the family, and I could easily see that being a really fun party game. So yeah, really enjoyed Block Party. How about you, David? What did you play?
Oh man, I want to play Block Party again because I think I just hold a very high standard for party games because usually they're not my thing. But that one's more intriguing.
It gave me what was it, Critter Canvas vibes, and maybe, yeah, similar concept. But anyway, I'm trying to decide which one I like better, actually. But anyway, more on that later.
Yeah. All right. I played Avatar: Aang's Destiny with my son. That was the one that we got to play this week. It was kind of a crazy week for me, but I'm glad, that we got to play in it. That game brings up a lot of interesting topics for me because I tend to think that licensed games, based on, movies or TV shows or whatever can just be a lazy attempt at making a good game by publishers. But this one by the amazing thing is that my son did not care for Avatar before the game. It was after the game that he became interested in the show. And
Wow.
so I think a good game like this does both the publisher and the IP holder good. So
Oh, that's another topic we'll have to dive into, right? Is IP, does it add or detract? And anyway,
yeah,
that's a good one. Well,
yeah, or what's needed to make it successful. But yeah,
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 awesome.
it progresses just through like the story, and it's a deck builder and all that. But yeah, my son likes it, cooperative, and it's a good time.
Awesome. Well, is it time to dive into our main topic?
It is. All right. If you haven't played a game in a year, it's time to get rid of it. I think I know your take on this. I think this is another one where I could choose. I think I could make exceptions, but I'm gonna try to just stick to my guns and pick the side, the side that I will, and we'll just go with it.
My hot take is if you haven't played a game in a year, it is not necessarily time to get rid of it. And
Okay.
the reason being, everyone's board game collection means something different to them.
Okay.
So, and I don't want to get into the it depends, trap of all the nuance, but I think it does because for me, I look at my board games and there's a number of games I have not played in over a year. We are having a game night tonight with some friends. So it's kind of like a double date. So Aubrey and I are going to play with somebody a couple we met. And the top game, as we're trying to decide what to play, is a game that we haven't played in almost 2 years. And had we gotten rid of that game, we wouldn't have it on our shelf as an option to play. So now you could argue a year is a lot of time to get through your collection and play the games that you actually enjoy and want to keep in your collection. As our collection grows, I find it harder to cycle through the games that we like playing as we add new stuff and experiment. So that's my hot take: is I don't think you should get rid of a game if you haven't played it in a year, if you genuinely like the game.
Okay. First tell me, which game is this that you're playing tonight?
It is Gnome Hollow.
Ooh, okay. Okay.
Which is and here's the other thing: nostalgia weighs in as well, right? Nostalgia factors in because there is some nostalgia influence that is keeping some games on my board shelf. Games that I know I may not get around to playing in a while. And so you could say that's a whole other thing I need to go to therapy for. But Gnome Hollow is actually the game that got Abria into heavier games. It was legitimately the gateway game that got her into heavier games. And it was so fun because I told her, I said, you learn it, you go onto YouTube, you go through the rule book, and I want you to teach it to me. And I don't know why, but and she's beaten me every time we've played the game. There's this really fun nostalgia there for us with Gnome Hollow. And we just hadn't got around to playing it in a long time. And anyway, so sorry, that was more information probably than I needed to share. But
that's okay. I mean, I've got follow-up questions because I want to challenge you on this. So
okay, let's hear it.
If you didn't have Gnome Hollow on your shelf anymore, do you have a game that you would feel equally as excited? Or I guess what game would you end up bringing out for tonight's game night?
There are games that fill the weight, player count, fun ratio. If it wasn't going to be Gnome Hollow, the other game that we had put up was King of Tokyo.
Okay.
Because again, we're looking for this couple. We recommended Lord of the Rings Duel to them, and they got it for her husband's birthday. She bought it for him, and they are obsessed. And so we're like, okay, we're going to nudge them a little farther, a little deeper, right, into the hobby. And so I think Gnome Hollow's uniquely positioned. It's fun. But there's just some more elements going on. Whereas, and I don't know that King of Tokyo. It feels King of Tokyo is like the right player count, weight, length. But I don't think that it
It's
fits
different.
kind of the objective. And you could argue maybe I'm not thinking hard enough. There's plenty of options back here that for
Sure.
Gnome Hollow adjacent games. But that's my hot take, though.
Okay. I do think, okay, so I feel terrible because I committed to myself that I will avoid the phrase, okay, it depends or exceptions. I want to be better. Just, I'll just, even if I'm only slightly leaning away, let me just lean the rest of the way there. But you did speak to me with that nostalgia point because the game that we have held on to the longest is Killer Bunnies, and that was our gateway game. And we haven't played it in forever. Honestly, I don't know that we'd have that much fun playing it now because I think I don't want to say we've grown past it, that it's like lesser than, but I think we've come to discover what we like more.
So here's a follow-up question. Do you feel like if you have outgrown the game, it was fun at the season that you discovered the game and you played it, and now you don't find the same enjoyment, but there's still that nostalgic pull? Now, do you get rid of the game or not?
That's a great question because it actually did just come up this last week about, hey, our kids are old enough that we think they can play it now. I hate that I've already led with that because I wanted to lean into, okay, yeah, if you haven't played it in a year, just get rid of it. Because I do believe that as gamers, we are resourceful people. We always have other games that we're going to want to buy, even if you're not like crazy gamer going to cons and that sort of thing. But as somebody who does own games that I haven't played in a year, I still believe that is due to weakness on my part and that I would be just fine getting rid of it. I would forget that I once had it and it would allow me to focus on what I do have because, hey, 80-20 rule applies. 20% of our games get 80% of the plays. So I'm okay. I'm okay standing on this side of, yes, I agree. Time to get rid of it. If it's more than a year, make room.
So here's another follow-up question for you then. To what degree is your board game collection I don't want to say art, but it's almost like it's kind of like a bookshelf, I think, for us in a lot of ways. Like when I look at this shelf, there are games on there that I like having in my collection, even though they don't get a lot of playtime or they don't get any playtime. So what role does your board game collection have? Because like you said, you have Killer Bunnies. It's in your collection. And when you go through your collection, you see it and you kind of go, and you reminisce a little bit, right? Even though you don't play it. But is it worth having it there for those little moments where you're like, it's almost like a family heirloom. It's like, this is the game that got us into, this was our gateway game,
As much as I want to stay committed to my resolve to it depends or there are exceptions to the rule, that might be the one that I have to yield to. Just like that really strong nostalgia. Because beyond that, like the other games that we could have like felt nostalgia for, like we have been able to let go of just because there's always, I don't know, like we like what we start to get into and discover now. But yeah, but there is an element of looking back at that one, especially that one, because there were so many freaking expansions at the time to go all the way from the red expansion or the red booster to the Onyx booster. And now there's even more than that, but oh man. Yeah, I guess what does your board game collection mean to you? May end up being, I wonder if that drives if you agree or disagree.
Yeah, I really and I would venture a guess that people who are both readers, they're into books and board games, there's probably a similar perspective there, right? Like I love Brandon Sanderson books. I have the first 3 Stormlight Archive books in a little set.
Yeah.
I've read the first 30 pages of The Way of Kings. I'm hopeful I'll get to it one day. But even if I knew I was never going to read those books, I would still keep them because I like having them. And it's almost like it kind of like your collection says something about you, right? We talked about the game mechanics, what those say about you. We should follow it up with a segment on What does your board game collection say about you?
Ooh, I would love diving into that for sure. I'm almost more interested now in anyone that I think we've had one comment in our YouTube history now so far, um, but I would love for anyone willing to comment, not just do you agree or disagree. I would love to know the why. Okay, so I collect soccer jerseys. That is something I would like. I'm wearing my France one right now. And the reason I don't let go of them, despite my wife's attempts to get me to let go of them, is it is representative of how long I've been a fan of whatever jersey it is. Um, so I love that I have a Spain jersey from, I think, 2006. So that, yes, I do have a 2010 Spain World Cup jersey when they won the World Cup. But for me, it's a symbol. That 2006 one is a symbol of I didn't just like them because they won. I was a fan before that. And so I've got to imagine there's something I want to know beyond that same sort of reasoning of like, this shelf kind of represents my journey in gaming. I mean, what other reason would there be?
Yeah, well, and now we're adding another layer of nuance, right? Because to a non-soccer person, that sounds a little extreme, right?
I'm sure it does. I acknowledge that and own it 100%.
I'm not a soccer person. That sounds like, wow, David's really into soccer. And I'm sure there's lots of non-board game people or who are not into it as deep as maybe you or I would look at our board game collection. And I've had this exact comment, like, wow, that is a lot of board games. Somebody even asked, like, do you really need all those board games? There's another, man, we're coming up with all kinds of podcast topics. There's the question. Do you really need all those board games? And again, I think, especially as the hobby evolves, this is another hot take. I think it's more like art, right? Like this game, for example, Hercules and the 12 Labors. There's like gold foil on the cover. There's like they took time with the art and the graphic design. I think as the hobby evolves, it like people really start to view board games as art and as like a visual thing to be admired, right? And again, that's just my hot take, and I think it's going to keep going that direction. You see that kind of with like the deluxeification of components, like these huge, crazy Kickstarters, which some people aren't into, but I think the sales of those bigger, fancier, more premium games would suggest that there is kind of this element, like we were saying, where it's like, this is my collection. I'm proud of it. So I guess
Okay.
the follow-up question is, are there ugly games that are on my shelf that I don't feel that way about, that I should get rid of? And I don't know the answer to that question.
Yeah. So I guess I'll acknowledge that what the side that I'm arguing is not what I do, because I've got plenty of games that I haven't played in over a year. And I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a doctor. I don't know how the brain works really, but there's an element of me that believes, or there's a part of me that believes that maybe, I don't know, that it's a symbol of strength to be able to get rid of some like that I haven't played. It's a representative of discipline. And I would love for people to disagree. Like, please come at me if you disagree with that. But I don't know. I guess it's something that I aspire to, is just like having the discipline to be able to say, okay, I enjoyed that phase. I want to live in the phase that I have now and continue looking forward. But I don't know. I don't know that I have a better argument than that.
And we like Harry Potter analogies on this podcast.
Sure.
So what you're describing almost sounds like it's your Horcrux. Like you've got your soul split up into all these games and they're holding you back. And by getting rid of them, it will allow you to move on to the next chapter. I think there is something to be said about that. And I would say on the spectrum, there's probably the extreme of like board game hoarding, which is probably the side that I gravitate toward, because I get really nostalgic. And frankly, if I'm being honest, I'm not that deep. I've really only been into heavier hobby board games for a couple of years. And so I think as time goes on, I'll probably start to gravitate toward the other way, where I'm like, let's get rid of some of these. And I'm not as clingy or nostalgic about it, but you've made some good points. I think this has been a very fun conversation, actually.
Right. So I guess, I'm good ending it here so we don't drag it on or anything. I would love to hear from anybody else. like, one, did your mind get changed either direction? I would love to see, like, I think Neal pulled me a little bit. I thought I was going to be able to talk myself into, no, I'm just going to be 100% on the side of, if you've had it for longer than a year, but that nostalgia, that gateway game might be the one. Yeah, might be the one area. And I say so acknowledging that I'm talking about what I say and not what I do, because I don't do that right now. Tell us, did you get pulled either way? Why do you stand on the side that you stand on? I want to hear everyone's takes.
This will be fun to hear other thoughts too. But
all right, well, thanks everybody. Like, subscribe. We love doing this. We love sharing the passion, and it holds us accountable to making sure we are making time for play. Thank you, Neal. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Always a pleasure. See you next time.